Hey guys, with the harsh winter in and not gonna be any sun or any growing for a long time here in Sweden, we decided to build an indoor planter so we can still grow some stuff while outside isn't possible. So we're gonna do a water indoor planter, self-made with these pipes, copper tubes, big water container over there, and we'll see how it goes. I started off by measuring the size of the box that I will use as a tank, and decided that the bottommost pipe will be shorter since it has to start inside the lid, but the top two can be longer. Getting the corners on was a bit annoying at times because of the tight fit, but I mean, it does have to hold water, so that's fair, I guess. Then I marked how far the corner piece goes onto the pipe so I know how much extra I need to cut. I should have done that before the first cut, but it worked out in the end. Here I'm using a deburring tool to get rid of the sharp edges, the jagged parts and the plastic bits that are still hanging onto the cut surface. It also creates a slight bevel that will make it easier to fit the parts together later. So for the shortest 10 centimeters pieces, I'm gonna use the table saw. Set this up at 10 centimeters. Blade could go further down, as I don't need it much more than the thickness of the pipe itself. Looks good. And yeah, I got the stop on. I will just twist it around and it should be going well. Let me get the push stick. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, it did not go well. Luckily, nothing bad happened, but I should probably have seen this coming. Also, side note, don't wear a watch or any rings or anything like that when you use a table saw. The pipe wasn't easy to control either, so I decided to go back to the jigsaw. Yeah, we're not going to use the table saw anymore. Yeah, that's not a great piece. That is not a good piece. To be fair, this blade is also probably not for plastic, but eh. What spacing am I going to do? I could just do a lot of holes and not use them all if I don't need to. If I do something that's bigger. I guess so. I need to put a straight line on here. My idea would be to do it from underneath here. Could also get a bit wonky though. Yeah, that is wonky. That is not straight at all. Wait. You fit in here. Yo, let's go. Cross this one out. That kind of looks like marks, position marks. That's going better. It doesn't quite work for this though because the pieces are longer. That should be good enough though. It's not ideal. It's also not that straight because it was bouncing off here. Bouncing. Meh. Idea. Why is it only wrong on one side? I ended up marking the holes every 10 centimeters, using a 5 centimeter drill that leaves me 5 centimeters in between each hole. And if that ends up being too tight, I can always just skip every other hole when planting. Oui, goodbye. Eh? Now here on the top right, I had measured the distance between the pipes so that the water can still flow, and as a sanity check, I kept adding up underneath so I was sure that the feeding side was always higher than the exit one. So then I drew the 3 pieces that I would need. The shortest one gains some height from the elevated corner of the lid that it's standing on, 2 braces, a shorter and a longer one. Thankfully it works out so that I can use the 2 pieces on both levels and still keep it sloped. Just 1.5 centimeters is enough for the slope, and you can barely even notice when looking at it later. What up, buddy? No water for you. Problem I have here. The cups are too short to actually reach the bottom. So I have an idea for that. I'm gonna make a little like dam. Then I'm gonna put in the pipe, which is gonna have a couple holes at the bottom. So the water will first pile up until it eventually slowly drains. Here I'm cutting 4 slits into rims of the little buckets so that they can sort of interlock with the pipe. Otherwise they were always getting squeezed into like an oval shape and sometimes bounce out from the tension. If I put that kind of dam structure up here, right, where it's like half of the thing is going to be closed off and a couple slits in the bottom so it can slowly drain out, but it's going to store up the water up to here so they can actually get some water. If that's the case though, all the water that's going to come down here is just the water that can actually go through those slits. So all the water that goes through here, actually little enough that it would go through these as well. The other way would be if if I let it run for long enough, the pump. I mean, it's probably going to run for a couple minutes at a time anyway, all the time. If we say it's halfway up, it's going to slowly trickle out through the bottom slits, yeah, but it's also going to overflow at some point, which then brings enough water in here, stores it up, until it overflows, goes in here. That should actually work out then. So I need to do those 3 blockades. So it would look something like this. Gate with a couple slits at the bottom to let the last water trickle through, and probably a little bit lower, but once there's enough water stored behind here, it will overflow. So then enough water will come to the next stage where it can store up again, overflow, go to final stage. And once the pump turns off, all of it will just trickle through the little slits here. I think that's a good plan. Better be. All right, now this half is done, but I made a decision to make a second one. I kind of thought at the beginning already, which is why I put it on one side of the container. But now I have parts for the second one. I'm gonna take all of this apart so I can get the exact measurements of what I actually had here, because of course I didn't write it down. I can cut down these pipes. I have the angle pieces here. Go drill the new holes. Right, so now that I've cut the second set of pieces here, I will show you my invention. The issue with this whole system is, without that part, is that these cups don't actually reach the bottom, right, of the pipes. Which means that with the pump and relatively low flow of the pump, you would need quite a high flow of the pump to get the water high enough in the pipes. The cups will never get water, nothing in the system will work, right? So I decided to make a little dam for the pipes. Started off prototyping. All of this is 3D printed. Love the 3D printer, man, it's so good. Thanks Bamboo, not sponsored, maybe someday. Just a little dam, this was, all prototypes. Doesn't quite fit, is too small, also very thin, just to have a quick print. Next piece is already quite a bit better. Sits in there, but still too small, will fall over, doesn't work. Next piece. Now we finally got the actual dimensions right, but because it's so thin, it will fall out. Now, version 4, good bit thicker, has a hollow part here, so it doesn't waste all the filament on plastic. Fits in there well, but it can still slide around, not all that much friction. Which brings us to our final version. Got the round over on top, it's even wider than version 4. And with all that, sits nicely in the pipe. The empty space really doesn't matter, can be positioned either way. I mean, either way it stops the water. And now with that version, it is deep enough that the water will actually fill up to the cup. Now to the construction of the little dam itself actually. We got those little 3 slits at the bottom to let water run through. So when it runs the cycle, it doesn't just have the water standing in there. Anything that would be over this limit would constantly be in the pipe. So we need these little 3 slits at the bottom to let the water run through. Now, if that was the only way the water could get out of the pipe, it wouldn't work in the lower levels, because then the lower levels would only receive as much water as can fit through here. And then the one in the next pipe would also just let it all run out and could never build up in the pipe. So that's why we got this little opening here for the overflow, which just means the water will slowly run through here, but it will be enough water flow to fill up the pipe up to here, at which point it will overflow, go into the second pipe, start filling up there as well from the overflow, and eventually into the third pipe, fill up, get everything, some nice water to drink from. And when the cycle is done, everything can drain through these holes back into the tank. Unfortunately, I messed up the audio in this part of the video, so you will have to make do with editing Busty. I need to drill a hole for the tube here, but the drill bit that's big enough will not fit in a power drill, so instead I will have to use the drill press. It may or may not have broken through the lid, but it's a hole. Just needs to hold the pipe. It fits. Great. It is successfully set up now. I'm sorry about the missing wire from earlier. I've done a mistake. I've drilled the hole on the wrong side here because the tube needs to go over there to the inlets. But I need to extend it with the Y piece anyway to go on both sides, so I can just make this part a bit longer. Doesn't really matter, I hadn't measured anything of that out yet. For stability, these definitely need to be glued down, and then I'm going to remove these shorter inner pieces and put them as connectors in between here. That's how I measured the distance between those two holes. And then it will be all ready. For updates on that, you can see our Instagram and how things will be growing in there. You can find it here or in the description below. Until next time, bye!